Hello, and welcome, traders. The date is August 19th, 2026. The time is 11:38 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Raffi Sosikian coming to you from Los Angeles, California. I hope you are having a good and blessed day. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 different instruments that are using price action pivoter V5 AI build 1006, which is running on HigherEdgeAI 3.0, which is a multivariate LSTM machine learning, real-time machine learning system that's also using PQNews 2.0, which is running off of Gemini, and it is making real-time calls to Gemini, grounded calls to Gemini, and it is getting responses for breaking news, for headline news, for social media posts by the president and other influential social media accounts, as well as a bunch of other news that's relevant. It's analyzing those in real time, and it has the ability to block sides, meaning it can block the short side or it can block the long side. Those blocks are not permanent. It checks to see if price and price level warrant a removal of the block, and it does remove the block, the veto as I call it as well. But it can also go the other way. So it can block longs, for example, and it can get a price level and price check to ensure that that long block can be removed, that long veto can be removed. And if price and, more importantly, news warrants it, then it will block the short side and during that same day and wait until price and price level warrants the removal or the lifting of that veto from the short side. So it is real-time active news analysis, which is, in my opinion, extremely necessary in the current environment we find ourselves in, where we have war on, war off, and conflicting news coming from actual media outlets that are very respectable, who are looking at the news and expressing and defining that news from their own, in my humble opinion, biased lens. And therefore, you will get conflicting data coming out. And that is not easy for even a human being to just look at it and determine who's telling the truth. Imagine a machine to try to do the same thing, but that is what PQNews is doing. It has a lot of code that is crunching through a lot of data coming in from various sources, and it's awaiting them. So this is a very advanced software at this point. What I wanted to share with you are essentially 4 charts that I have here. I'm going to share the strategies, parameters in a second here. What I want you guys to do, however, is to watch this entire video. Now, if you are an actual license holder of Price Action Pivoter V5 AI Build 106, whether you're in Mach 15 or Mach 16, then for you to watch this video in its entirety is highly beneficial. If you are just the person who's investigating to see what is out there, then again, for you, it'd be very beneficial to watch this entire video, not fast forward it, not rewind. Well, you can rewind it all you want, but don't fast forward it so you can skip stuff. Maybe my voice is not very sexy, guys. I'm sorry. It's not very, as my brother says, I have a monotonous voice and people should listen to it if they want to fall asleep. So I understand I'm not, I don't have a radio voice. I get it. But what I'm saying is very beneficial to you. So watch the entire thing as I deliberately lay out nuggets, I say, in these videos, throughout the videos, for the purpose of encouraging viewers, such as you, to watch the entire video and not fast forward, okay? Or use the ask button and ask YouTube, summarize this video. You're not going to get everything I'm saying by doing that. You're only essentially holding back the benefit from you. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happened. I'll give you a synopsis so far as what we've experienced today. It is now 11:42 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we have NQ, CL, MNQ, and ES. These 3 in the top, which is why I laid them out that way, have trades already. NQ, CL, and MNQ. ES does not. I was hoping they all had trades by the time I would record. They don't, but it is still 11:42. It is looking for trades until 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. So last minute even, we can have a trade entry on ES or any one of the other 3 instruments here. Okay, so today I also wanted to show you guys a loss that I think we're going to take. So we'll see. It is on CL. but we'll see. I think it's going to take a loss, which is another reason why I wanted to record, because I wanted you guys to see what a loss looks like too. It's not only wins in this world, guys. That's only on TikTok, as I've mentioned in other videos. You have to find a guru who's got many sports cars, okay? And he has to live in a beach house, because if he has those qualifications, then certainly everything he's saying is true, because it's impossible to rent those things. Here's what we've got. We've got NQ, CL, MNQ, NQ. So let's start with NQ, and let's start with the strategy parameters. They're a little bit different for NQ than they are for example, for MNQ as well as CL as well. So essentially it's looking for trades 6:30 to 12:30. You'll see the little boxes there checked, and you have to check that box too. And because it has to be enabled, the HigherEdgeAI 3.0 strategy. It is running off of the HigherEdgeAI 3.0 model. I had scheduled it so that it uses PQ range tracker to pick these two numbers, AI training desired profit, AI training risk per trade numbers, which are the numbers that HigherEdgeAI's multivariate LSTM machine learning model is being trained on. Okay, so it's being trained on these two numbers, meaning it's saying, can we get to this number, which is AI training desired profit of 1,728, sooner than we can get to the AI training risk per trade number, which is 1296, over the next 120 minutes. So it's predicting the probabilities for the next 120 minutes, for the next 2 hours, based on what? Based on past data. The past data is essentially at this point over 250 variables that it is essentially studying. 60 of those approximately are variables you can see in the CSV that's generated the moment you enable the strategy. The rest are engineered variables. So you can engineer variables by various different ways. For example, you can, with OHLC data, you can have, which is open, high, low, close data, you can have various different patterns. Okay, at different price levels, you can have different patterns, chart patterns that are being formed. And the LSTM model, the machine learning model, LSTM, by the way, stands for long short-term memory. It is a multivariate LSTM model. It gets trained on that data, and it can then, based on that past data, make a prediction of what may potentially happen over the next 120 minutes. Okay, so that's what it's doing there. That's a very high number. Net session profit number 50,000, meaning if it hits $50,000 upon exit of the trade, it stops looking for further trades. Okay. We have lots of different tools here, guys, that you can use. I have not used, several of them, but they are very helpful to specifically for the input that I've received from you guys as to what you're looking for. I have essentially, when I receive input from several different clients saying, Raffi, that would be great if we can have this. And if two other people say the same thing, two other clients say the same thing, that moves up high on my radar list as to what to do next for the next releases. We are currently in version build 1006. So we started with the original version. Now we're in, 101, 102, 3, 4, 5, now 6, 7, 8 others will be coming, God willing, in the future. So as I get input from, different tools that people want to add, people meaning my clients want to add to the system, I make note of that. I can't promise that I'll do everything everybody says, because sometimes the input that I receive is, I guess, not helpful to the clients. It's not going to actually benefit. But when I receive 3, that's my rule. 3 different people saying the same thing, 3 different clients saying the same thing. That usually means it's something, but I still have to test it before I release it, guys. So I take that, I code it, I back test it thoroughly, and if I like it, it gets released. So that is what it is. So a lot of the stuff that I receive is defensive. So basically people saying, if I, for example, hit a particular number, for example, net session profit, that's calculated on bar close while you're still live in the trade. So if you were to put, for example, let's say your goal was $1,000 for today, you can put $1,000 and it stops looking for further trades. When it hits that, it exits you out as close as it can get to that 1,000. Just remember, this is a strategy that's calculated on minute bars, but it calculates upon the close of the bar. Conversely, the net session loss, right here, the net session loss, it's also, for example, if I'm down $1,000 today while the system is still active, the trades are still live, just take me out. That's it. Stop looking for further trades. So it has lots of things like that. It has also thousands. It's got a lot of code, guys, just on the stops that you see here, the peak, high, low trailing stops. So you can be very granular with these. It also has, for example, early windfall. Well, it basically gets you out of the trade. It has the MATR stop, which is a modified ATR stop. All of these I have my previous videos, so you can watch those. I don't want to take up your time with that. You have a profit target. You have a stop. Your my risk per trade is your actual stop, which is very different from your AI training risk per trade number that I showed you guys earlier, which was here, AI training risk per trade. That is for the HigherEdgeAI model. Notice it's part of the HigherEdgeAI 3.0 strategy. That's for the machine learning model. So this stop is your actual stop. So for NQ, I have it at 1500. For ES, I use 1500, and it's the same for the profit target. It's going to be 32, 1500, and it's going to be the same here as well. It's going to be 600, 500, 1200, but there's also the scale-ins, 300, 300. Those are the scale-in trades, okay? So you also have granular control of the scale-in trades. I have it at 450, 2000, 125, 750. These are if you're up or if you're down. So if you're down while active, 125 to 750, that's when it starts looking to add trades. Or you can say, you could zero these out and it'll just take scale-in trades. Or you can say that only if I'm up, taking scale-in trades, 450 to 2000 up. So you have lots of control on every single thing here that's happening in this strategy, entries and exits, lots of granular control. So it's going to flatten everything at 12:59 Pacific Standard Time, and that's about it. So again, I have other videos that discuss the parameters in greater details. If you have more questions, request a Zoom call. If you don't have an account or a license yet, you can request a Zoom call. We can discuss these, no problem. So here's NQ. We're just going to do a quick synopsis, guys. I have to get to my other desk, but here's a quick synopsis. Here's NQ. That's the first trade around 635. Second trade around 756. Third trade is right there, 928. Fourth trade is at 1054. No further trades for NQ. CL, in fact, let me discuss MNQ. We'll switch to CL last, unless ES gets a trade while I'm speaking. So this is live recording, guys. I am, again, recording this live. You can see, for example, you can tell the time here, right? On the HigherEdgeAI terminals, the Python terminals here, you can see what the time is. All right, so that's my time, 11:50. All right, let me show you guys. When it first starts, it basically has all these signals that it's going to print, and you can essentially see exactly what's going on. There you go. This is where we are right now. Okay, so let me discuss MNQ. We'll switch back to CL. I think that one's going to take a loss, but we'll see. You're going to say, Raffi, if you think it's going to take a loss, why don't you do something about it? Good question. I wanted to make a video. Okay, so let me just go ahead and start here. So let's go to 6:30. That's when it starts looking for trades, as I showed you guys. It's the same strategy. Well, actually, for MNQ, it's going to be 1/10 of the value, and it exits sooner. So I've put this at 12:44 only because some of my clients that are with the NinjaTrader brokerage exit 1 minute before the RTH hours, margin requirement hours, essentially end. So they do it 1 minute before. So for me, it'd be 12:44. So let me show you what the strategy there is. It's essentially going to be like, instead of 50, it's $5. 5,200, and you'll notice that I'm exiting at 325, 150, as opposed to for NQ was 3,250, 1,500, and I'm trading one contract, as you see. And as far as the exit, that's what I wanted to show you guys. It's going to be 1244, okay? And I also have profit lock in place, 32 minutes before 1244, okay? This is a self-directed automated trading system, exclusively built for NinjaTrader. You can use Interactive Brokers, your Interactive Brokers account on it. So don't think you can't. You absolutely can. I have several clients that are using Interactive Brokers and have connected Interactive Brokers to this system. Larger clients that are trading a lot more money, and that's perfectly fine. It works. Okay, with Mach 15, you can trade up to 15 contracts, plus you have the scale-ins. And with Mach 16, you can trade up to 30 contracts. That's a lot of contracts for the majority of the clients. And if you want more, we can certainly do that. It's sold at increments of 15, okay? So just let me know in our Zoom call that you're interested in that, and we'll discuss the higher packages for the additional number of contracts. That is essentially what I wanted to show you on that, but let's go ahead and discuss the actual entries. So that's the first entry. That's the second entry. Okay, that is the second entry right there. Third entry. I want you guys to notice that it is not picking a side and sticking with it, which is part of the reason I wanted to make these videos. Is that is essentially molding itself with what's happening in the market. So it's not like it's making a decision and it's saying this is what it's going to be. We're going to go short from now on. No, 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 no. It did start out that way. Enter short. Okay, that's a short trade. Then it went long. Okay. Then it went short. You see, it's going with the flow, the ebb and flow of the market. Okay. And I believe that's it so far. But again, it is now 11:54. We still have, until 12:30. So we'll see what happens. All right, back to CL. This is what I want to show you guys, the loss. Okay. So CL had, let me fix this. Okay, CL had no trades early in the morning. And then it got a trade. It was a long trade right there. CL, of course, has had a lot of volatility, but it's not extreme volatility. Okay, so for that reason, I want to show you guys this. I'm not using a $1,500 stop. I'm using a $1,000 stop on this. Okay, so you see that the profit target's still 32.50, but I'm using a 1,000 stop. It's got news-driven volatility. We do have PQNews enabled right now on CL, and it could block sides, but still, because of how fast news is coming out and how conflicting the news is, I have reduced the risk there from the typical 1,500 that I use on most futures instruments that are E-minis to 1,000 for CL. Okay, so that's how that goes, and the peak high-low trailing stop numbers are also different, 500, 400, 504, but the rest are pretty much the same. Okay, all right, so that was the first trade. That was a winner. Okay, the second trade, I'm anticipating a loss, which is right here. That's the second trade. Enter long right there. We are down, and I'm anticipating a loss here. So I don't anticipate a recovery all the way back up to any, it's a ton of different price levels that it's going to have to go through. It's not a ton, but it's going to have to go through 4 different price levels, actually 5 different price levels, just to get to the break-even area. So I don't anticipate that's going to happen. So my self-question asks, if you know something's going to take a loss, would you essentially do something about it? Especially we're nearing towards the end of the day, right? It's 11:56 now. 12:30 is when it's going to stop looking for further trades. Looks like, let's see what happens here, guys, at PP. But that's the pivot level. By the way, calculations for fib pivot. Some of you guys have been trading for a while, of course, would know this. The fib pivot and the regular traditional pivots is the same number. Okay, it's just those R1s, S1s, they apply Fibonacci calculations to it on the fib pivots. Okay, so anyway, this is not a video about the calculations of various indicators. This is my own indicator. This is called mid pivot points PHL indicator. It's got the R1 mids in there as well, plus the 2 days ago high and 2 days ago low, prior high, prior low. So these are pretty much all the price levels that anybody should be watching, in my humble opinion. All right, so the question stands, do you manually exit when you know the day is almost done anyway? I cannot answer that question for you, but many traders have, not many that are my clients, but many traders in the past have, when you speak to them or talk to them or read their books, you'll see that that's what they'll do. If they know that something is not going to work out, they don't wait for it to, hit their stop. Do I agree with that? No, I don't. And some of you who are listening to this who have been trading for a while would disagree with me. I get it. I get your disagreement. You have a valid point if you disagree. I can make a counter argument against what I just said very easily. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to support my argument, and I'm going to say why. Because if you're using an automated system, the entire objective was that you let the system do what the system is supposed to do. Yes, you're supposed to pick your own risk and reward numbers. So you're supposed to think about those. You're supposed to backtest those. You're supposed to run it in live sim for a while. Once you have an understanding, and you might have to make some adjustments as you're running in live sim, because like I said, every person, I've said in other videos, every trader has their own personality and their own style. Every single one of them. Okay. And it's so unique that you cannot, after years of doing this, guys, I cannot pinpoint it and look at someone and say after 2 sentences or 3 sentences of them saying, giving me a little bit of a background on their trading, peg them as to say, okay, this is a risk-averse type of a trader. This is a more, cowboy type of a trader. I cannot, okay, because what happens is you get molded as you're in the market, as the market is cooking you, if you will. you will have essentially a viewpoint of what makes you feel comfortable. All right. So in my humble opinion, it would not behoove anybody to start making these decisions last minute and say, you know what, I'm just going to override it. You can express that from the get-go. For example, there is an express that meaning in the parameters and have the system run that. You see how from the entry, this thing had a substantial, it went against us almost right off the bat. There is the ability for you to use the RRG setting, okay, and essentially program that in, okay? That's what's going to happen. You're going to put in your desired risk there, and you're going to say, if I am down, I'm going slowly so you guys can see all the parameters. You see where I'd slow down? Rapid rejection guard. It's not enabled here. You have a couple of different ways of enabling it. You obviously press the box first, the checkbox. Then you have either an ATR multiplier that you can use. It goes off ATR 5. Or you can use a hard dollar amount. And you can dictate the number of bars that must happen in. So let's say I had put in $300 here, and I had put in, let's say, 5 bars or something. Then if within 5 bars it had a $300 loss, it hit the $300, it would essentially stop you out at 300. If it passed the 5 bars, that stop gets released. And now it defaults back to my $1,000 stop. So you have the ability to program that in. So if you're risk averse, I would say program it in. But just know that it's not entirely impossible, guys. It's within the realm of possibility that we might break even by the end today, okay, by the flatten everything time. It's entirely possible. In my opinion, there's a low chance, okay? But I could be, in this video, proven wrong. So we'll see. But that's where we're at with CL. So let's take a look at, now I'm going to go back. Oh, by the way, ES, we have no trades. Some of you are like, Raffi, you're like the ES guy, right? I used to be an ES specialist, meaning my entire objective was to reach out to PMs, portfolio managers of various funds who are looking for exposure to the futures, particularly ES, and essentially work with me in that regard. This is when I was a money manager. That was my focus. So I was, in a sense, an ES specialist, and it is to this day my favorite instrument. But today, it does not have any trades, okay? It does not have any trades yet, as you can see. We're still waiting. We might get something towards the end. I give it a low chance, okay, because it is still stuck in sort of sideways / choppy environment, okay? Unlike CL, unlike even NQ, the volatility here is significant. And remember, it's comparing it to my actual AI training desired profit in AI training risk per trade. So it's not like it has no frame of reference, nothing to, compare it against, nothing that it can be relative of. It's going off of those two numbers. AI training desired profit and AI trading risk per trade. So let's take a look at some of the numbers here so you guys who are all about numbers can see, and I get it. Entry price there, entry time, exit time, max favorable excursion, MFE. That's the highest peak of the unrealized profit. Max adverse excursion, that's when it went against you, against the trade. Those are the dollar amounts. Those are the dollar amounts that were where we had unrealized profit, unrealized loss, essentially. That's the profit that it booked on those 4 trades. And we're at that number so far. That's NQ. Let me go to MNQ. We'll do CL last. MNQ's of 152. Those are the 3 trades. Okay. You can see MFE, MAE. Now let's look at CL. It had that one winning trade, and it's not going to show us, obviously, the loss yet. So don't think that this is the case, guys. I think we're going to take a loss. This system is going to take a loss on CL, but we'll see, okay? So we're up 400 on that right now. We have a $1,000 stop. So worst case scenario, I'm down 600 on CL, and that's fine. That's part of doing business. That's part of trading. If you want it to be flawless, it exists on TikTok. Again, not in real life. In TikTok, though, it does exist. You have to find a young guy, no licenses, no degrees, nothing. Lots of cars. Look at the cars. Okay, he's got Ferrari, Lamborghini, for sure. That's the guy, okay? If he shows you his house a lot, he's always in the garage, and the garage is like amazing, and it's got a bunch of cars in there because it's impossible to rent those houses. That's just not possible. There is no such thing as Airbnb. That's myth. You don't have to watch my video in that regard. TikTok guy, I mean, that's the video you want to watch, okay? He trades Forex with offshore brokers. I've made videos about offshore brokers before and how unscrupulous they are and how they flip losses to wins to make their affiliates, which are guys like the TikTok guys who are bringing them new clients, look good. That's why they're flawless. Okay, so however, in real trading, guys, that doesn't exist. Honest trading, you take losses. There are days where it's like day after day, you're like, what is going on? Like Monday is a loss, Tuesday is a loss, Wednesday is a loss. But to those who give up, that means they were never traders to begin with. Okay, traders, or it's a consistency, and you look at it just exactly as long-term value investors like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger would have looked at it. Okay, you're waiting every single day. It's just the same thing. Okay, you enable it, you put in the numbers that you're comfortable with after testing and running it in live sim. That's not real cash. You're comfortable with the numbers, you let it go. And you watch it by the quarters. That's the earliest, absolute earliest anybody should ever look at any number. It's by the quarter. And one quarter doesn't mean anything either. You have to look at it really by the year. The guys I've respected the most in this business who've made a ton of money for their clients. And I'm not talking about the older guys like Leon Cooperman, who are great too, but I'm talking about more like Stanley Druckenmiller guys who produced consistently about 30% returns year after year after year. The reason Stanley Druckenmiller closed down his fund and turned it into a family office is simply because of all of the pressure that was on him. There are videos, and I've put this on my Facebook page, of Stanley Druckenmiller admitting openly to a woman who was interviewing him that once or twice a week, he pukes, guys. He pukes, he hurls because of how upset his stomach gets over his drawdowns. If somebody were to call it, could you imagine his clients that are very wealthy investors? Some are institutions that are portfolio managers of very powerful, weighty institutions. These guys who speak like 6 words when you talk to them, like that's it. You say hello, like the guy has a very hard time saying hello back to you because he's that special. All of his words are weighted. So that guy is going to call him and say, "Oh, Stanley, what's happening?" That's it. And Stanley's going to have like a major conniption. He's going to puke. Why? Because guys like that, when they say what's happening, the next step is he's going to pull his funds. He's not going to be patient with Stanley. But Stanley had proven guys like that wrong year after year after year because he's not measuring it by the month or even by the quarter. He's waiting for the year. There are other portfolio managers who would actually write letters to their clients, and in those letters they would say, guys, stop calling me. Stop calling me, because you're not supposed to look at this day by day. You're not. You're supposed to look at this year by year. And these are professional fund managers who have clients who think that if you pay them money, the next day you made money. It doesn't work that way. You have to wait. Okay, that's reality. So there will be days where there are losses. There's always a reason for it. Okay, there's always a reason. Sometimes that reason, this is a good segue. Sometimes the reason is news. Okay, I've sort of hidden this away here. But let's move this a little bit higher. Okay, today we had the FOMC minutes. You can see, for example, release occurred. By the way, this is running every 15 minutes. You can set it to every 1 minute, but just know that this is making a Gemini API call. Gemini API is not free. They might have promotions when you first sign on, maybe $300 or something worth of credit. You can do it by the credit. You can put a credit card and sort of put a limit in there and say, if it passes this limit, notify me. And there's different ways that you can handle it. You can just keep an eye on it. But I've set it at 15 minutes. I think that's a good number. I do have clients who reported back and said, Raffi, I've got it at 2 minutes. Okay. And they've liked it a lot, obviously, because they have it at 2 minutes. They want it to be very aggressive. Okay. Meaning as soon as the news comes in within 2 minutes, they're going to know. You can even set it at 1 minute. It's just going to make a lot more calls. And those calls are, you have to pay for that. It's not free. It's not much. At 15 minutes, I'm paying on average with, you're talking about 50 to 75 cents. Okay, somewhere in that neighborhood. Don't quote me, like that's not the max 75 cents. You could go like 98 cents or something like that. And 50 cents is not the bottom. It could be like 23 cents for the day. It all depends, because I've also done some work to make sure that we don't make unnecessary calls to the API. Okay, so it only is doing a call when it needs to look up the data. Okay, it needs Gemini to do a grounded lookup, and it's running in the current model, Gemini 3.6. This is what it basically release occurred. Results not yet verified, retrying. So when it came through, it basically, that's it. It got it at that time. It basically is now saying, okay, I got the impact. It's now high. It read the news. It says the impact is high. So let's check in on CL. Yeah, CL died at the pivot level. This is the level I was watching. It's not dead yet. It could try again. So we'll see. But if it goes below the 2 days ago high, I personally, at this time, don't think it's going to come back. And I think we're going to take a loss on CL. But that's how trading is, guys. There are some wins. There are some losses. You look at it at the end, and God willing, you will see why the fee here for these licenses is actually very cheap. Okay, it's very cheap relative to the value that it gives. And remember, it's a lifetime license. This is what we've got so far. It is now 12:13. I need to get to my other desk. In editing, I'm just going to essentially add music to this, so you guys will be able to listen to something. My music is licensed, so YouTube should not get upset about it. And at that point, you can see I'll come back before the flatten everything time of 12:59 for majority of these, except for MNQ. So MNQ will stop looking for trades at 12:30 to 12:13 here, and it'll flatten everything at 12:44. But we are not in any trades. It doesn't mean that we will not be in any trades. So we'll see. All right, we'll see. Look at that. Look at CL. See these green bars? They're like, hey, I've got something here. I've got something here. And the next bar either confirms that or is going to say, nah, you don't. But anyway, those don't matter. The price levels matter much more. And even those don't matter in the grand scheme of things as much, okay? But still, they're more important than just a silly bar. As you can see, it went up there, and as I was saying it before, even got there, that's the number, that's the level I'm looking at. It's going to likely, if it passes it, it might go all the way back, but it's got a bunch of different resistance still ahead of it, like, for example, prior high. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think we're going to take a loss, but, we'll see. So no trade still for NQ before I leave. Sometimes the trade sneaks in while I'm speaking because I'm focused on what I'm saying. I don't see a trade yet. That's for ES, no trade. No trade for NQ. No scale and trades for CL. That's still possible, by the way. A scale and trade is still possible here. So we might actually enter another trade. So we'll see. And no trades on MNQ.
Order canceled.
All right, guys, I'm back. I was in the room when I heard the audible alert from NinjaTrader. I was expecting the CL to take a loss, and there it is. That's the loss for CL. Okay, guys, there it is. So I anticipated that around probably at this right here is, I was concerned here when I saw this. I go, okay, that was it. So why? It's not because of the size of the red bar, guys. Is where it happened. Okay, at the price level. So I thought it was going to take a loss, and it turned out that it did take a loss. Again, that question of do we manually take that exit and it's going to be, a lesser of a loss? In my humble opinion, the answer is no, because if I was concerned about that, I mentioned earlier about RRG, the rapid rejection guard, but you also have the net session profit protection. So the first trade was a winner. If you're that concerned, then you would have to really be, I guess, using those, in my humble opinion. I mean, it's up to you, but for example, the net session profit is another option that you could be using. If you had put that, for example, at $400, then it would have, or $300, it would have essentially actually logged you out of 300 if you put it in 300. It would cashed you out around $300. Or instead of putting the net session profit limit at 50,000, that's a high number for CL, by the way. It's just a default number there. But if you were concerned about that, you could have put, for example, $300. And upon exit, it would have been $400, that first trade, and it would have stopped looking for further trades. That first trade was a $400 winner. So we're down 600, exactly as I anticipated. And so let's just take a look here as to what we did for the other instruments. So this was NQ. Again, you don't look at it by the instrument, you look at it by the, for today, I'm going to look at it by the day, but you're supposed to look at it really by the year. Okay, so for today, NQ 22,205 minus $600 for CL, add, what was that, about 100 for MNQ, 152 for MNQ. Okay, and ES had no trades, so nothing on ES. So that's it. That's all really I have to share for you guys for today. Should you have any questions, let me know. If you are not an existing current client, you don't have a Mach 15 or Mach 16 license, then you can certainly request a Zoom call, and there we can meet and I can show you how the system works on a one-on-one setting, and you can ask me any questions you may have. Again, for Interactive Brokers users, I wanted to also mention that in this video, I'm getting a bunch of calls and inquiries for Interactive Brokers. You can absolutely use this system, ready-made system, V5 AI, Build 106, Price Action Pivoter, HigherEdgeAI 3.0, PQNews 2.0 on your Interactive Brokers account. You still need NinjaTrader, and through a NinjaTrader, you connect it to your Interactive Brokers account. It's really easy. It's a couple of steps, but it's really easy couple of steps. And I have several clients who are already doing that. Okay, they have their LLCs and they're taking advantage of the full tax deduction possibilities as well. They've done everything right. One more thing. I mentioned the V5 AI Build 106. We're going to go to 007, 08, 09. Guys, prices increase here pretty much every week. At the current price levels, it is way below commensurate value to what you're receiving